Swedish-produced content in the festival is very strong this year, with several films featured in both the competition section and the open zone for directors who have been around a while. Competing for the Bronze Horse is not only Play by Ruben Östlund, but also Certain People, which is the first feature film from director Levan Akin and producer Erika Stark.
We wanted to do something subtle.
And with something that had integrity.
Här är Linda.
Shit, vilket stört ställe ni har.
Han är jävligt fräck, tycker du inte? Jag bara dyka upp sådär.
Du är en exceptionell skönhet, kan jag tänka, vet du det?
My visual style is the dichotomy of the contemporary and the uncontemporary, or just having a dichotomy in the picture and the storytelling, so it doesn't go hand in hand with what you're trying to tell, because that's interesting. Something different comes out of that. I've always tried to feel how the story would be most effective without, you know, setting a set of rules for myself. This is how I will make every film. This is how I will make every film I do in this certain style.
Hur länge har du träffat min bror då?
Vadå är du, Joel?
Tvillingar. Va?
It's hard to describe your own style, I think, because it's a part of my emotions and what a sensibility that I have. But, you know, maybe it's a little nostalgic and thoughtful and so maybe a little romantical. Maybe actually, I think, even, you know, even those awful things are depicted, I think, you know, there's a serenity and a calmness.
In Certain People, I'd say the script and the cinematography and the production design is kind of have the same theme, and it has to do with the story.
Filming classic novels seems to be another trend this year, not least among the Swedes. Tomas Alfredson has made his international debut with an adaptation of Jean le Carré's spy novel, Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy.
Sorry it took me so long to come home.
I think the world of spies, as they actually lived, is extremely interesting. The silence that surrounds them and the imaginary world that they live in is extremely interesting. The soldiers of the Cold War were almost the opposite as you know, the usual soldiers in a hot war.
I want to talk about loyalty, Toby.
It's nice to work with period stuff because it's creating a world that has actually existed, and the farther away the period is, the easier it is to put whatever you want into it. So if you would do a period piece that would be set in, let's say, 2001, that would be really tricky, you know, with all the small details, and people would easily remember it. But it's much easier and more open to create that reality if it's 30 years ago or 40 years ago.
Who's that fella down there?
I don't know, sir.
Who is he? Beggar man? Thief? Why doesn't he look this way?
People have said that we have found the British DNA in the early 70s, and I haven't thought so much about it, why, but we just put a lot of work into it.
Alaline. Tinker. Aiden. Tailor. Land. Soldier.
For me, this is a film about loyalty and friendship and those things, and that's topics that interest me, and I think I'm good at working with those topics.
Director Lisa Ohlin is also taking on an historical challenge with her adaptation of Marian Fredrikson's much-appreciated novel, Simon and the Oaks. The story centers around the lives of two boys during World War II and provides a window on the Jewish people's situation in Sweden during this time.
The core of this film is about identity. It's about searching for your identity, and it's about how you always have to know where you come from in order to know who you are. But in a wider sense, it's also about Sweden during World War II. It's about how we rose from a very poor country to a very rich country within a few years. And it's about class, and it's about fear of strangers. It doesn't necessarily have to be about Jews. It could be about anybody. It could be Iranians, Somalians. In Sweden, we have so many groups of families that have war traumas and who have to deal with how do you tell your children about what you have done, what you didn't do, about what your relatives did do or didn't do. And many times you don't tell the whole truth and you deprive your children from their true identity. Well, it's always hard when you adapt a film from a book because you take away so much from the book. You only film maybe a tenth of it. And at the same time, you have to keep the soul and the spirit and the tonality of the author. So in a way, it was lucky that the book came out so long ago because people probably have read it and they remember that it was very good, but they don't remember exactly what happened in it. But the biggest challenge is to keep the same voice. Well, if you haven't read the book, you should definitely see the film first, because otherwise you'll always be sitting and looking for your favorite scene. And then if I haven't filmed it, you'll be really disappointed.
Director Kjell-Åke Andersson managed to put together an impressive Swedish cast in his film Somewhere Else. Based on a novel by Hans Gunnarsson, the film is a typical Swedish relationship drama set in a small town in the north.
We wanted to have a very simple way of dealing with visual effects. We wanted to have it very clean, very simple. To get these people in the film is a miracle, because we have a very bad and not a good budget, small budget, and people like Persbrandt and Helena Bergström, they are stars in Sweden, so you need to have a lot of money. But we managed, I think, because they liked the script. In some ways, the film is like a thriller, a little bit of a thriller, because it's this story about the woman and her husband. The husband beats her, and I think that happens everywhere, not just in Sweden. It's everywhere. Behind every window in every flat, there is someone is beating up someone. It's a mix between tragedy and humor, and if you miss the humor, you're a bit lost. I think Stockholm Film Festival have found its sense, its soul now.
For me personally as a filmmaker, and for you, the Stockholm Film Festival has been extremely important, because one of our first projects, which was a short film, got a lot of praise and attention.
Film festivals today are more important than ever, because the films that we get to see on commercial cinemas are becoming more and more mainstream. And if you grow up today and only see movies at the theaters, you won't understand how broad the concept of cinema is.
A lot of good things are happening for Swedish cinema. I can see a new trend, and it's amazing.